Nation.
What was your assessment of what you saw tonight between Devin Haney and Vasily Lomachenko, two men in your weight class?
Lomachenko should be undisputed champion. He won.
Wow.
He won. He won that fight.
What was it about his performance tonight that makes you say that he deserved the win?
He landed the cleaner punches. He landed the cleaner shots on Dev, and he pushed the pace.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So after Devin Haney defeats Vasily Lomachenko and puts the third loss on his record, I've seen something for the very first time that I thought we would never see in the sport of boxing. And that is a room full of old media members congratulating the black fighter and telling the black fighter, Haney, at the press conference that they had him winning the fight, despite hearing the majority of non-black fans complain about the decision and say that Loma won and he was robbed. And understand this, guys. This was also right after Shakur Stevenson, he ran up, got in the ring, and told the entire crowd that Lomachenko should be undisputed right now because he won the fight. Even after a black fighter like Shakur Stevenson said that, old media, they completely ignored what Shakur Stevenson said. They complimented Devin Haney on the body shots that he was landing on Lomachenko and even congratulated him. Now, usually Shakur Stevenson and old media are on the exact same page, but in this instance, they're on opposite sides. Old media, or at least old media that was at the press conference, once again, they're congratulating Devin Haney and saying he won the fight, while Shakur Stevenson is congratulating Lomachenko by saying he should be undisputed and he won the fight. Let me tell you guys something. Mike Coppinger, who works with ESPN, is one of the biggest grand wizards of old media. And he congratulates Devin Haney at the press conference and tells Devin Haney that he personally had Devin Haney beating Lomachenko. Almost every single person at the press conference were surprisingly on the same page. And then you have Stephen A. Smith. Stephen, he posted this on Twitter. He said Lomachenko easily won rounds 10 and 11. The 12th round was closer. Haney won most of the first 7 rounds. That's a BS decision. Haney may have won, but it was barely. There should not have been a 116-112 score or a 115-113 call. It was that close. Guys, when you have Mike Coppinger, when you have the rest of old media that was at the press conference, and then Stephen A. Smith, not to mention the 3 white judges that all had Devin Haney winning the fight. Oh, and I also have to include Jeff Mayweather. It really surprised me. Even Jeff Mayweather said that he could see Devin Haney winning the fight. It was close, but he could see that Devin Haney won the fight. Devin finished stronger by winning the 12th championship round. When you have all of those people in particular disagreeing with Shakur Stevenson, there's no way you can call this a robbery. You can say it was a close fight. You can say it could have went either way, but I thought Loma won. But to say Loma won and it was a robbery, it doesn't add up. Speaking of adding up, Stephen A.'s math didn't add up. He said Devin Haney may have won, but barely. 115-113 is barely winning. It's like a basketball team winning a game by 1 or 2 points. Even when Stephen A. Smith says it's BS for anybody to have the fight score of 116-112, you can clearly tell that he's not doing the math. He's not adding up what he's saying, and he's just trying to use talking points that he thinks will be accepted. This is how the majority of people who say it was a robbery, without explaining it, without going into detail, without giving you their actual scorecard, this is how they sound. Let me read to you guys what Stephen A. Smith said one more time. Stephen said Lomachenko easily won rounds 10 and 11. The 12th round was closer. Haney won most of the first 7 rounds. Guys, that is exactly the way Box Azteca had the fight score, the Spanish network that was covering the fight, and had Julio Cesar Chavez as one of the commentators, who also had Devin Haney winning the fight. The lead commentator, Eduardo Lamazon, he put up his scorecard. Going into the 12th round, he had the fight scored 106-103 in favor of Devin Haney. He had Devin Haney winning the majority of the first 7 rounds, and he had Lomachenko winning rounds 10 and 11. And that's pretty much the summary of how Stephen A. Smith had the fight scored. Devin Haney completely dominated the 12th round. The 12th round was one of his best rounds. In fact, Lomachenko even said in the press conference that he gave that round away because he felt he had already did enough to win the fight. Loma, he would lose the 12th round against Lopez as well. So even Stephen A. Smith just completely contradicted his own scorecard. He actually had Devin Haney winning big, and he doesn't even realize it because he never added up the rounds. Once again, he was just trying to use talking points that he felt these non-black fans wanted to hear. So when Shakur Stevenson got in that ring and he said that Lomachenko should be undisputed, he won that fight. The perception at the time was old media, they were going to co-sign every single thing that Shakur Stevenson said. But instead, the majority of them, at least at the press conference, they did the exact opposite. And that almost made it look like Shakur was the only person that was going out of his way to say that not only did Lomachenko win in a close fight that could have went either way, but saying that Loma should be undisputed. He won that fight as if it was an outright robbery. Imagine you being Shakur Stevenson, and you know that everyone just heard what you said on the microphone, right? Including the media. And then the media, they go to the press room and they completely disagree with you. And they all congratulate Devin Haney, and some even tells Devin that he won the fight. Like I said before, it makes it look like Shakur Stevenson is all alone. And when I say all alone, that crowd doesn't count because they were booing Devin Haney before the fight even started. After Devin Haney pushed Lomachenko, they took that extremely personal. They felt like you had did something to one of their family members. That was once again why they hated Floyd Mayweather so much, because they had never seen at the time a black fighter just punk Oscar De La Hoya throughout the promotion of the fight and then beat him. This is exactly what Devin Haney did to Lomachenko. They took that extremely personal. So for them to tell you how they had the fight scored, they have no credibility. That's like Lomachenko's manager telling you how he had the fight scored. That's like Paulie Malignaggi or Chris Mannix telling you how they had the fight scored. You guys already know Paulie Malignaggi, he got fired for racist comments when he was talking about how the Eastern Europeans, they dominate the sport now. This is their time and it's no longer the black fighters' time. And he also said that Devin Haney, he won't fight that white boy Lomachenko, he's going to duck him. He has zero credibility. So with all of that being said, after Shakur Stevenson made it sound like this was an outright robbery and Lomachenko should be undisputed, after once again many old media members said that they had Devin Haney winning, after many people said that this wasn't a robbery, it was a close fight, now Shakur Stevenson is retracting what he said.
Stevenson and Shakur, we saw you in the ring there for the Devin Haney Lomachenko fight. How did you score that fight?
Yo, I just went back and rewatched it. And I came up with a different score than I had the last time.
What story did you come up with?
Honestly, I felt like it was either a draw or a 7-5 Lomachenko.
Okay.
But I had 8-4 at the fight. I had 8-4 Lomachenko. But, you know, there's a lot going on at the fight. You can't really see what shots getting in that time. You got people standing up. And, like, it's just so much going on where you can't really get the right score down. So I had a 7-5 or 6-6.
Or 6-6. Okay,
yeah.
So you had it a bit closer. And if you had it 6-6, one of those rounds could have gone the other way, so it could have been 7-5 for Devin Haney. It was a close fight, right?
The thing was, Devin landed a lot of good body shots. And Lomachenko landed a lot of, like, telling blows to the head. Mm-hmm. So, like, when Lomachenko landed, it was, like, clear shots where Devin head goes back. And it's, like, easier to score them shots. Like, it's easier to score those shots rather than a body shot where, like, you don't know if some get through or, you know, some may not get through. But that's my honest assessment.
Okay, so this was an interview that Shakur Stevenson did on Stamina for Sale. It's a YouTube channel. He asked Shakur, how did you have the fight scored after you rewatched it? Devin simply says, now I believe that the fight was either a draw or it was in favor of Lomachenko 7-5. But he never highlights any of the 7 rounds that he believes Lomachenko won or the 6 rounds if it's a draw. And then the guy who's interviewing him, he says, well, if you had the fight that close, then that means it could have went the other way for Devin Haney, 7-5. And this is why, once again, you can never say that this fight is a robbery, because even when Shakur Stevenson says that he felt that after rewatching the fight, it was either a draw or it was 7-5 in favor of Lomachenko. But if you believe that it was either or, a draw or 115-113, it could have easily been 7-5, 115-113 in favor of Devin Haney as well. Because once you say it could have been a draw or Lomachenko won 115-113, that means you have swing rounds. Even Tim Bradley's explanation, it sounds a lot like Stephen A. Smith's. You know, Tim Bradley just recently came out and he said, look, I rewatched the fight. And now after he rewatched the fight, he says that there were a ton, his words, he said there were a ton of swing rounds. But then after he says there were a ton of swing rounds, he said the fight could have went either way, but it's absolutely ridiculous, basically, to have the fight 8-4. But he just said that there were a ton of swing rounds. If there were a ton of swing rounds, that means the judge could have easily had Lomachenko or Devin Haney winning all of those swing rounds. Tim Bradley said this was a very, very difficult fight to score, which in other words means it's not a robbery. You see, Stephen A. Smith, he went into too much detail trying to explain his scorecard. And all he ended up doing was telling us that he actually had Devin Haney winning this fight by a wide margin. At the end of the day, it's okay for anybody to say that Lomachenko won the fight. Hell, Lomachenko, he won every single round. You could say it, but we already know all 3 judges, they had Devin Haney winning the fight. And people like Stephen A. Smith and Mike Coppinger agree with them. But my thing is, if you're going to say this was a straight up robbery and Lomachenko is the only person that could have won the fight, I think the best thing to do is to tell people what rounds you feel that Lomachenko won. What rounds do you feel he definitely won? There's no way he could have lost those rounds. And then tell us how many rounds you felt Devin Haney definitely won. Because just saying that it was a robbery or just saying that only Lomachenko could have won this fight without any type of substance, it just sounds like a political talking point. For the people saying that Lomachenko won this fight hands down and it was a complete robbery, let's see where Lomachenko ends up on the pound-for-pound list, since this was a complete robbery. Because remember, when we had a real robbery with Pernell Whitaker, when he fought against Julio Cesar Chavez, this is before we had social media. This is when we had real pound-for-pound lists. Well, at that time, Pernell Whitaker, he was considered, before the fight, he was considered, I believe, like number 7 pound for pound, the best fighter in the world. And they had Julio Cesar Chavez pound for pound number 1. Well, immediately following that fight, the same magazines that had Chavez as pound for pound number 1, they removed him and they put Pernell Whitaker at number 1. Let's see if they do the same thing with Lomachenko. Let's see if all of old media, they start ranking Lomachenko higher than Devin Haney on their pound-for-pound list today. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, the fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Decay Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodecay.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.